Thank you very, very much for that introduction. And we have got a lot to go through today. There's a lot of content here. I've positioned it that way so that you can watch it on demand and you can sort of get all the rest of the information. I won't have time to walk you through literally everything that I have here, but as in all the details, right? But we're going to go through the highlights and you're going to get hopefully inspired and just to start to see how all of this works. We've already gone about who I am, so I don't need to stop here. That's a pretty picture of the latest version of the book. I'd love for you to contact me, so go ahead and do that. LinkedIn, all the rest of it, email, all good with that. But let's get started. Okay. We tend to think, so because automation, right, doesn't necessarily equal personalization. Often it does, in that if we send it at the right time, you know, and we're picked the right touch point, it often has that innate personalization within it, which is fantastic. And it can therefore be amazing at scale. But one of the things it doesn't do without us, right, the directors of the customer journey, it doesn't do empathy, right? Automation, it's just you know, tech. So we have to include that. We have to include the empathy. We have to understand more about the audience and how we can get the copy correct. So, like I said, triggered doesn't mean tailored, and what we're going to be doing today is trying to solve that problem. Now, often, because we are very much relying upon that automation and it just gets sent out and sent out and sent out, you know, and we hope that we've gone and addressed everything. We don't necessarily, it is still a one size fits most, right? Which also means that it doesn't always talk to them how they should be spoken to. And that is because most of us write for ourselves. So when I say write for ourselves, what I mean is we're going to go through this 4 different modalities. I am consumer-wise, I am a spontaneous. So if I'm writing copy for a consumer brand, I'm more likely to be wanting to write to fit my personality, right? Something that, oh well, yeah, I'd like to get that email, you know. Well, that's what would motivate me. So that kind of thing. If I'm writing business email, I'm competitive then. So I will do the competitive copy. And that's what I mean by most of us are writing to appease ourselves. So what we need to do is stop writing for us and start writing for our audience. Now, it is easier than it sounds, okay? Let me take you right back to the beginning. So back in 2007, Jakob Nielsen, he went and did this study, and he found that there were 4 main web users, right? Tool dominant, search dominant, success dominant, and navigation dominant. Now, just keep that in mind. 4 types of web users. And what that meant is that you gave them, I'd like you to end up here, and then he tracked all the journey, how it took them, what resonated with them, what did they click on, where did they go, how did their minds work, right? 4 different types of web users. And what we're going to bring in today is that there are 4 different kinds of, let's call them modalities. Brian and Jeffrey Eisenberg, in their book called Waiting for the Cat to Bark, introduced these. Now, these go all the way back to early philosophers, right? And so what we're doing now is we're taking that information and understanding that we are all different. And yes, we are very, very different. And we're not just going to be fitting in with 4. But in a very basic way, this is how we can make sure that we are providing some content that resonates with each of the personalities or each of the modalities. And that is because we are all wanting and looking for different things, different bits of information, different aspects of a product of a tool, of a system, is going to appease us, right? So we've got competitive, we've got spontaneous, humanistic, and methodical. And it's really interesting because remember I was talking about the four different web users: tool dominant, search dominant, navigation dominant, success dominant. It all fits in. They all match up. So the competitive and spontaneous, they tend to be fast decision makers, and the methodical and humanistic tend to be more slow decision makers. So often when you're doing emails, well, you're going to write the information for the competitive and the spontaneous at the top of the email because they're less likely to scroll until you have them hooked. Whereas the methodical and the humanistic are more likely to scroll, okay? Then logical, decisions are made very much logically, competitive and methodical, and emotionally spontaneous and humanistic. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce you to each of them, the four of them, okay? And then we're going to walk you through some of the life cycle programs that you might have in place, and we're going to sort of say what it is that they really, really like. The next 4 slides I'm going to talk to, not in depth, but give you a bit more of an idea, and then we're going to go through and I'll be more top level just to give you an idea, but there's a lot of information on the slides that you can refer to at a later stage. So competitive, fast, decisive, outcome driven, motivated by winning and status, incredibly hard to sell to, right? They have to have a need, and they will very, very much be the ones that likes to approach you rather than be approached. They do respond to words like leader, exclusive, and results. Yeah, that's because they're very much results oriented too. Spontaneous, energetic, emotional, risk tolerant, motivated by fun, novelty, and ease. They decide very much with emotion. And if you watched my session yesterday, they very much decide with the emotion, and then they will support with the logic, but the emotion is really important. You need to hook them very much. So they're very much working with system 1. If you give them a reason to act now and not later, they're more likely to take it. Humanistic, they're very much empathetic, values-led, relationship-driven. They want to understand, and they are the ones that will say that they have a relationship with the brand. And if you do have a relationship with them, then consider yourself very lucky because they will have researched you and they will have chosen you because of your ethics and because they agree with what you stand for in principle and they trust your products, okay? Very much they also love being part of communities and they crave connection. So they resonate, you know, very much with the humans, the faces, stories. Don't just give them features, not even benefits. They want people, yeah? And the methodical. They're very much the analytical, the cautious, very precise. These are not only the accountants in the group, but often they're the musicians as well, right? So there is, you know, people tend to think that they're not creative. There is a lot of creativity here. Think about your accountant. They're often very creative, right? But they are motivated by logic and proof. These guys, you know, they're great planners. They love a good spreadsheet, and they need logic. They need evidence. They want to know the process, and they want to make sure that there is a guarantee before they sign on the dotted line. Now, they're not broken in evenly. So within our, you know, world, this is this is some research was done. Competitive, we can say it's around 5 to 10%. Spontaneous, 25 to 35%. Methodical, 40 to 45%. Humanistic, 10 to 15%, right? So when we look at that, you might be tempted to say, okay, I'm writing towards the methodical, so I'm doing okay because it's 40 to 45%. But do you really want to lose out on everyone or the others? So what we're coming to look at today is understand that we can write a little bit of something to appease to each of these modalities in every single email, in every single automation, that we write. It's just a matter of understanding what motivates each of these modalities, and then just making sure that it's included. And it doesn't even have to be copy. It could be imagery as well. It could be design. Spontaneous very much react to color and design and everything as well. Humanistic, they're going to be looking at the testimonials, right, and the 5-star ratings. So start to sort of get to know these personalities or these modalities, and what you can then do is make sure that you are addressing a little bit of something in each email for everyone. So depends on your audience as well. If your audience is mainly accountants, then yes, you're more likely to be looking at the methodical. That could be a good percentage of your database. Or engineers, again, if your database is primarily entrepreneurs, well, then you're probably going to be looking at a lot of the competitive ones. Now, not all, right? Because some of them are going to be designers who are spontaneous, but they're also an entrepreneur because they want to have a nice lifestyle. Rather, so they're not necessarily driven by the competition. They're not driven by being the best and building a huge business. They want a nice lifestyle. So understand that there's always, your database isn't just black and white. It's going to be entrepreneurs, and it's going to be competitive if your database is entrepreneurs. Educators can tend to often be humanistic as well. So just to give you an idea, okay? Now, first life stage we're going to look at is the welcome, right? We all understand what that's all about. This is really our chance to prove to each of these 4 modalities that we see them. Now, competitive, what they're looking for. They actually want to be initiated. Start your success now. They want to see that they have made progress, that they are also being recognized as well. You're in, let's get results, okay? Spontaneous, short, upbeat, just a nice, cheery, vibrant welcome, bold visuals. Let's dive in. They like excitement. They like what's easy for them as well. So don't give them big questionnaires to start up front because you will lose them. The humanistic welcome, they need to feel seen. So, you need to recognize them and, meet the team behind the emails, behind the brand, behind the products, that kind of thing, right? They're very much, remember, these are emotive. So they're going to be looking at that authenticity and the warmth, yeah? And the methodical, okay, what's going to happen next? Give me the next steps. What, if it's an onboarding process, lay them out for me. Be very systematic, so things like step 1, step 2, step 3, see your guide. Very much that information being clear, no ambiguity at all. That's what they want. So, like I said, 4 modalities in one email. So you could, as an example, you could have a clear promise for the competitive, a bright emotional line for the spontaneous. Maybe then layer in some warmth and empathy for the humanistic. Then, of course, round it out with structure and clarity for the methodical. You have got one email. You're addressing all 4 of them. They will all feel seen, and they will feel like they are being, their needs are being met. Now, if we go and put our consumer hats on, right? Each of us, when we look at the emails, we're sort of going, okay, what's in it for me? Very much the competitive. What's in it for me? The spontaneous are asking, well, okay, so what's next? And how much do you require from me? Humanistic, can I trust you? And the methodical is very much, can this make sense? Or does this make sense? So this is the kind of questions that they're looking at when they're reviewing your emails. So we need to be answering these questions. Now let's go in to have a look at the nurture. Okay, now the nurture stage is where we can convert some curiosity, because curiosity it works with all 4 personalities, but we have to actually make sure that we deliver on it, that we provide them with the right information, that we're starting to meet their needs. Okay, so this is where we move from introducing the brand to building trust in it. Each modality wants reassurance in their own language to meet their own requirements. Competitive in the nurture stage. Competitors very much motivated by mastery. They don't want to just use your product. They want to win with it, right? They want to feel like they are achieving something and that they will also be recognized for it as well. So top performers will do this differently. See how, take the lead, start your results today. These are all great call to actions for the competitive. The spontaneous, just give them really, really easy, fast, quick, rewarding content. Doesn't mean it can't be advanced. I'm not talking about basic. These guys are savvy, but they've got other things to do, and they don't want to be spending a lot of time wading through tons of content to get to what they need. So just give it to them and make it as easy for them as possible. A quick win that you can try today. Those life hacks, things like that. Little nice tips, gems. They love them, right? Every nurturing touch point should be delivering a dopamine hit for them, because that very much that emotional kick, right? And the humanistic for the nurture stage. Stories are incredibly important to them. Stories are everything. They want to hear about the people. They don't necessarily want to, give them all the details. Often, when we're talking about the competitive, they, forget about the details, the story, the lead up and everything, the case study. Give me the bottom line. What happened? What were the results produced? Well, the humanistic are the opposite. They're not so interested in the results. They want to know what the journey was like, how your team, your agency team interacted with, with the actual brand team, that kind of thing. Yeah. So case studies and testimonials, customer spotlights, videos, they're all fantastic here. Read their story. Trust is very, very important to the humanistic. And the methodical nurture, it's all about the logic. It's just all about the logic. They don't want the tips. They actually want the frameworks. They want, this is what you do. This is how you do it. And let's break it down step by step. Okay. So structure is their happy place. They really love that structure because that's, and they're into the details. They love the details, right? So think, here's the process behind the success. Explore the framework. And now let's go and jump into the conversion side of things. So as with the other ones, they're going to remember what we were talking about with the 4 different web users. Everyone gets here differently. So the competitive have literally been waiting for this challenge. And the spontaneous, they just need a nudge. They're generally often working in system 1, which doesn't necessarily need too much of a nudge, just needs the right nudge. Humanistic very much need to feel reassured, and the methodicals just provide them with the evidence. So conversion side of things for the competitive. As I said before, exclusivity is their language, right? It does. It makes them feel special. It fuels their ambition. They love those limited access, any of the special offers, making them feel like they're seen, that they're needed, and that they're very much recognized. Insider benefits, early offers are brilliant. Urgency can work, but only if it feels, authentic, right? But also like it's going to deliver them a benefit, not that it's that they have to do it in a rush, because they're not going to rush. They won't do anything for anyone for any reason. They'll do it in their own time, right? When it feels right for them. Be the first, be the best, great call to actions, great phraseology, get early access, limited spots available. That kind of speaks their language. Spontaneous, emotional decision makers. Again, just keep it short, colorful. These guys are the ones, and these are the reason why. And think about it, I just saw yesterday there was a poll. How many call to actions should we have in an email? Well, I'm one that says, okay, have one at the top. Yes, you haven't fully built your case study yet, right? And you'll have one at the bottom after you've finished building the business case as to why they should buy and everything. And that's for the humanistic and the methodical. But the competitive, if they're already looking for that product, if they've got a need, they're going to be just hitting that top button. Spontaneous, absolutely. And then, of course, the spontaneous are more likely to go on then and convert quite easily. The competitive are less likely to convert easily. They will convert, again, in their own time. So on the landing page, make sure you give them all the information. That's when they'll be reading it. So spontaneous, emotional decision makers. They do love a little bit of a drama. So, the countdowns and last chats, phrases and things like that. But short, sweet, snappy, evocative copy as well, right? So just think of that emotionally led decision making. Speak to them. Speak about how they can benefit. That's what will help them. The humanistic are only ever going to convert once they trust you, right? Once they feel like you have met their requirements. Things like join thousands. Okay, so others actually trust you. Others believe in you. Others are using you. Social proof goes a long way with the humanistic. They don't need, they're not a percentage off type discount people. They want to believe in you first. And the discount plays less of a role than that need. Yeah. If you've got communities and, like I said, all of those testimonials, that's absolutely brilliant. Join us, not sign up, things like that. So the join us, so that they're part of a community. That speaks a lot to them as well. And a methodical conversion. Now, these guys are the typical comparison shoppers. So make sure you have comparisons. Why they should buy this product over this product, or you've got 3 products, here's different pricing range, different features. Make sure you provide that to them. Maybe even if you've got a comparison with you against your competitors, right? And let me tell you, they're going to be checking it all out. So make sure that you are truthful, because they will find out if you're not. Okay? Provide them with the data. Give them the evidence. They're going to be checking everything. Terms and conditions, all bullet points, you name it, okay? So transparent pricing as well, that's very reassuring to them, guarantees, and that step-by-step, the clarity of here is what's going to happen once you sign up, right? Retention. Now, this is where relationships can either deepen, right? And you get a multi-buy one, and it goes on to being loyal, and you get awesome customer lifetime value, or you lose them after the first purchase. And that's often the case. So this is a very, very important one. Once we've gone and done the conversion, we want to make sure that we retain them as a customer. So as I've said to you a number of times now, recognize the competitors, because that's what they want. Spontaneous, then they need that crave just a delight, right? Surprise and delight, those kind of things. Give them little treats. It doesn't have to be worth anything. It could just be a fun, nice little chatty experience that you're sharing with them about what happened with the brand. Humanistics, they need to feel like they belong. And the methodicals, they want to continually see the proof that they made the right decision. So, of course, that also falls into customer service, because if they make a good decision, they like the tool, but customer service is lacking, well, then the methodicals are going, well, I'm not sure that you are the right one then, because, I've got the whole kit and caboodle, right? So competitive retention. The competitive, they thrive on status. This is very much who it is. So that the language should be confident. You're one of our top customers. Access your exclusive benefits. They're going to be staying loyal with you because you make them feel like a winner every time that you open up, every time that they open up your email. That's speaking to them, speaking to their needs. It's speaking to what they're looking for. The spontaneous, like I said, they love a little surprise. So here's a little thank you gift, right? Or that, just a little surprise and delight, like I was saying. They enjoy being entertained, not necessarily educated. Again, I'm not dumbing them down, not at all. As I said, I am spontaneous myself and I am not dumb. But when they're in that frame of mind, in the spontaneous frame of mind, then, the education side of things, you have to hook them emotionally first and then give them the education. Don't open up with the education because they won't be interested in that. Hook them emotionally, then show them that education side of things. Playful thank yous. Nothing, when I'm in my spontaneous mode, nothing pleases me more than some beautiful copy, quick, quirky, cheeky, playful copy. I love it. Absolutely love it. And that will get me coming back time and time and time again, right? And that is true. They will stay because your emails are fun to open. Now, loyalty for the humanistic, it's all, again, coming about feeling connected and feeling like, that they actually make a difference. Here's how your support helps our community. Celebrate their milestones, feature customer stories, share the positive impact that their support makes. Share where the company is at, the roadmap, and how they're contributing to developing that. They're going to stay invested because they feel emotionally invested, not necessarily because of that percentage off. Now, these guys, methodical, they stay because they can measure the value that they're getting. Remember what I was saying to you about the customer service as well. So those, those summing up the year, your year, and it has you sent this many emails, or you, Spotify does it, you joined this many lists and everything like this, and you listen to this many songs and blah, blah, blah. They love all of that. So show them the results, give them the usage reports, any of the savings summaries. If you're an energy company, this year you saved this much, blah, blah, blah. Give them the breakdowns, right? They love seeing their progress quantified. Now, for the last one, we're going to be looking at re-engagement. For time's sake, I didn't go with the loyalty. So we're going for re-engagement, and that's really talking about how we can win back attention and hopefully customers ethically, and not about guilt tripping them. Yeah. So just because we know this about them doesn't mean that we want to be manipulating them. The competitive buyer does hate losing, so remind them that they once held a top spot with you. You're still in our top 10%. Don't let it slip, right? Frame it as a challenge, but not as a plea. They're going to be responding to ambition faster than an apology. And spontaneous subscribers, they probably left because they got a bit bored. Maybe you're just giving them the same, and there's nothing more in it for them. They're kind of like, okay, well, nothing else is appealing to me. So show them something new features, jazz up your emails, try a different approach, lead with novelty. So, an unexpected twist. Tell stories. They love them too, along with the humanistic. We've missed your spark. See what's new. They're going to be re-engaging just for the curiosity hit, And if you get them to open it up and then get them hooked, you're more likely then to re-engage, and hopefully a repurchase will happen. The humanistic re-engagement, keep the tone soft and genuine and very much that personal, right? They respond to care and kindness. Very much, again, I mean, if anyone, I really don't like the "we've missed you" phraseology that's often said because it's inauthentic, yes. But if anyone was going to respond to that, it would be them. But you have to make sure that you're wording it so that it comes across as being authentic, which means that you would have to add some personalization, some proof that you understand who they are, what they have done in the past with you, what their history is with you, and why it is that you actually miss them. Yes? So they definitely want to be feeling seen rather than segmented. Yeah? And then the methodical for the re-engagement. Often they're going to be leaving because something stopped making sense. And I refer to the customer service side of things. Okay? It could be your email program is fantastic, the product is fantastic, everything is fantastic. But if they're not getting the support that they had signed up for, that had been guaranteed to them, then, you know, that is a reason why they could leave. Okay? Logic and support, as in evidential support, needs to be proven, needs to be supplied, needs to be given. Show them what's new, what's been happening. So updates and improvements and more comparisons. You know, have you had a new a comparison done with a new provider out there, and how do you weigh up against that new provider? Again, that's very helpful, particularly if they are unengaged. Then you might be able to show them some new evidence that will get them to change their mind, right? So things like, see what's changed since you last logged in. Just give them that rational justification to return. Not emotional, rational, and support with the evidence. Okay, so all of this starts with structure. We want to be designing automation systems that can flex to fit and adjust and speak to all of those 4 modalities, all of those 4 decision styles. But we don't want to be putting a lot of burden on your team. So this is actually a framework. And the best thing to do is to understand the 4 personalities and just make sure you can start to put in, modules of information for each. But then it might be, you might lead with competitive, and then you'll support with spontaneous, and then below the fold in the email type thing, right? The second half of the email. Then you'll have the humanistic, and then you have the methodical. You could test that, and I would recommend you testing that. Don't go straight to that. What I like to do is blend, right? But at the same time, you don't want to blend it so that each of them can't at a glance find something that suits them. So it still needs to be visually easily accessible at a glance, but it doesn't necessarily have to be one paragraph for one modality, another paragraph for another modality, right? Test it out. You can build it into the system, build that framework happening. So the workflow is to define the emotional and logical triggers that you want to be doing within your particular automation journeys, right? Map which modalities you need to balance at each touch points. Some will be needing more attention than others at different places. Create the adaptive copy and visuals that speak to all 4 of these modalities. Test different hypotheses. Make sure you're not just testing those random elements. Really test the motivation factors. If we were to do this copy for spontaneous as opposed to this copy, is that going to give us an uplift? That kind of thing, right? optimized for both the connection and the conversion. And this can, like I said, be turned into a repeatable framework as well. So in finishing up, every automation is 4 conversations running in parallel, and to make sure that every email is adapted to address all 4 minds. And this way, what we can do is we can actually move from the transactional marketing, right, from that automated marketing, from that very successful, right, automations. These are great programs, but we can take them the next step. We can really, really hit the nail on the head with these guys when we're speaking to each of these 4 modalities. And it can make a huge difference to your automations. So that's it from me. Again, please connect with me. I've got a free course happening at the Holistic Email Academy. So it's the buyer's mind. It talks about the system 1 and the system 2 that I referenced here in this one, and the one that the session that I did yesterday. So I'd love to see you there. And like I said, connect with me. And now, if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Kat. Thank you. Well, there are a lot of questions. I think we have 3 questions down already for you. So I'll just start with Sven's on. I don't know if Sven is back. Okay, he's back. And his question is there also research into how these modalities might change depending on context? Like when on the way to the airport, check-in is to be done, unclear about where boarding will happen versus evaluating a digital tool to use. I don't know if you got that question, or should I read it again?
Yes, I can see it. Thank you.
Okay.
So thanks for the question, Sven. Yeah, essentially, like I said, so when I'm, and this is very much trying to make it as simple as possible. Okay. So if you know anything about Myers-Briggs, well, they've gone and done it on steroids, and you can have your specific one, which is bringing in elements, because most of us are going to have 2, maybe 3 of these personalities or modalities within us, and that they could get called on at different times. I already referenced that when I've got my consumer hat on, right, and I'm buying retail and everything, I'm very much spontaneous. I don't need that much of a reason. If it looks good and all the rest of it, I'm happy. I'll go through it. I am impossible to sell to for a business. I really, really am. You can't sell to me. I will buy from you when I have a need, and that's my competitive. But then I'm also quite humanistic, and I have a touch of methodical as well, in that I actually love to read details. Once you've hooked me, right, that evidence really, really appeals to me. So yes, different circumstances are definitely going to be bringing out different parts of us. And that's why I have had clients, and I've seen case studies. Orange in the UK did a case study, a test on segmenting their database into the 4. And they did it, right? And they found the competitives are incredibly difficult to sell to. They had some success with the others, but it was incredibly difficult to do. And not only that, are you targeting the right modality at the right time? That's the other thing too. You don't know, because yes, it all depends on the context. So, I might be in business mode, but maybe I'm working from my daughter's house, so I'm also talking to her, and so I'm also in my spontaneous mode, right? So that's why you want to have all 4 personalities in the one.
Yeah, that is so good. I like what you said about like being like spontaneous, but also being in like a business mode, because depending on what mood you're in, I think that's what appeals to you at that certain point in time. I don't think one person is like entirely spontaneous all the days of the week. I don't think
Correct.
that. So
Absolutely correct.
I,
And
yeah, thank
so,
you
so if
very
you,
much.
yeah, just
Yeah.
address all of them, and you're gonna make sure you
Yeah.
hit the mark.
I think Ruth also has a question. She said, what signals can we listen for to understand which stages people are in, and how to use this to automate workflows which are tailored for the user and their stage in the process? I think this almost links to the question I also asked, because my question was like, can how can we know what stage the audience falls into? So I think this answers like both questions. So our question is just basically to understand like what are the things to pay attention to know what stages people are in, and how can you use this to automate workflows. That's basically how to use that information to appeal to your audience, and then automate workflows which are tailored for the users and their stage in the process. So I don't think I'll be going for my question, because this is directly linked to the question I also asked.
So thanks for that, Ruth. Now, essentially, mapping your customer journeys is super, super important. And when you're mapping your customer journeys, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be, again, you have your own goals for this particular stage. This is, what our goals are. But the customer have their own goals, and they're going to be meeting their own goals within that stage, and they're going to have questions, and they're going to be performing certain actions, and you need to understand and have all of that written down, identified, and planned for. And then, okay, and if this happens, then we're going to send them this. If this happens, then this will happen. Most of those actions are based on behaviors or even inactions, right? So you can identify what is going to work best for them at that particular time, and then automate it. And then, of course, involve the 4 different modalities to address all of those other questions that they're having at that particular time. There's some background noise happening.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. That's coming from my end,
Oh,
not
okay.
yours. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Because I also, when you started speaking, and then you started mentioning like the four people, like modalities, and how people are different. I think the main question in my mind was like, how can a brand, right? Like, how can they you know cater to these people at every point in time, and how can they know? Because I don't think it will be easy for them to know. Or I stand to be corrected, though I don't think it would be easy for them to know, oh, this is the particular audience I have. I feel like it would change at different points in times, because people are not like the same. Do you get? The
Yeah.
person who was spontaneous last week and is still your customer can decide to be methodical
Yes.
next week based on a lot of other factors going on in their life and like personal things. So I think it's
Yep.
important that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, I've chosen the automation side of things for today because it's very relevant to Mautic, but also it is a great place to actually learn about this, because your automations are something that go on and go on and go on and go on. And you can be learning, and you can be evolving, and you can be testing and refining. And then, of course, all of these insights, all of these learnings and everything, you can then go and put into your regular campaigns. And so I think that the automations are actually a really, really good place to start. And then bring all of those learnings and start doing it into your regular campaigns. And then you can start to see, increased engagement, increased conversions, and all the rest of it as well.
All right, thank you very much. This has been really insightful, honestly. The part about like discovering the different types of people and writing content that appeals to them has never really occurred to me. That is so true, because there are some newsletters that you open and some emails that you open, and then you read through them just because they're fun, they're like interesting. And then there are days where you see other things that are relating to more technical aspects, and if it comes across as fun, it's almost like you're not getting the message directly, so it has to come in a certain type of way. It's very glad to know that like those are like the methods that they are pulling behind the scene to be able to, connect to their
Yeah.
audience and others.
And and the good news is it's actually easy to do. It really, really is. And I'll give you a little trick, right? You can use AI. You can train your AI tool to know all about these modalities and to give you the details and to everything like that. So if you start to train your AI, then it can help you. But you can't just go straight to it. You have to train it. So that means that you have to
I have
have a
to
certain amount
understand
of
it.
knowledge. Yeah. And because you, as with every time you use the AI tool, you are the boss. You are the director. You're the one that's giving it the detailed brief.
Yes.
So when that's the case, you need to make sure, because yes, AI can hallucinate, so you don't want them to be giving you false information. You need to know enough about it that you can say, wait on, what are you doing there? That's wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it can help you as well.
Yeah. That's really great. Thank you so much, Kat.
That's my
I learned
pleasure.
a lot, and I would think that every participant here also like picked up a thing or two that they can apply to their day to day and their businesses as well. Thank you so much for
Okay,
being
my
here.
pleasure.
This is the last session for Room 2 for the Mautic World Conference. For everybody who has been here from since Monday till now, both at the physical event and the online, thank you so much for showing up, for participating and asking your questions. I really enjoyed being a part of this session, and thank you so much, Kat. I'll
No,
be
my
ending the
pleasure.
session now.